Hello everyone, and welcome to my presentation on how does the national policy for technology impact us as a district by me, Amanda Woods. So my intent of this presentation is to show how the national technology policy will affect schools at the local level. I want to share my findings with my future employers so that way they will understand the national policies are and how they affect technology education for our students. I love this quote by John King, the U.S. Secretary of Education. One of the most important aspects of technology education is the ability to level the field of opportunity for students. So that's exactly what the National Technology Policy intends to convey. So what is the National Education Technology Plan? The National Education Technology Plan, or NETP, sets a national vision and plan for learning enabled by technology through the building on the work of the leading education researchers, district school, higher education leaders, classroom teachers, developers, entrepreneurs, and nonprofit organizations. The principles and examples provided in this document align to the activities to support the effective use of technology, Title 4A of Every Student Succeeds Act, as authorized by Congress in December of 2015. So, reimagining the role of technology in education. So, the NETP is a call to action, a vision for learning, a collection of recommendations of real-world examples, and this plan is written for our teachers, policymakers, administrators, and teacher preparation professionals. So this is making possible everywhere, all the time, learning. So that is the number one goal here. So we need to make our teachers and staff aware in our district. And the reason being is I took a survey of teachers, and of the teachers who responded back, these are my results. So the survey results is, what is your position at the school level? So out of the 12 people who responded, 75% of the people surveyed are classroom teachers. 16.7% of the people surveyed have a job in education outside the classroom, and 8.3% of people surveyed were technology coaches. So we have to make the technology plan known in the district, especially to classroom teachers, because it affects them and their students the most. So I also asked teachers or educators, are you aware of the National Technology Plan? And alarmingly, educators are not aware of the National Technology Plan even exists. However, it is promising that most are aware that we have a national technology standards. So are you implementing the technology standards in your classroom? And they had 3 responses, and 50% of educators said they may be, they're not sure. Only 16.7 said they do, and 33.3% say that they don't. So they don't even know that they should be implementing them. So this impacts how we function as a district. So since that less than 50% of educators surveyed are aware of the standards and National Technology Plan and the policies that affect it in ETP, let's find out what they are and how they are going to impact us. So first off, I wanted to go through what Every Student Succeeds Act is, because not a lot of educators may even know about this that Congress put into place. So it was signed into law in December of 2015. The law replaces a former federal education law known as No Child Left Behind. It also reauthorizes the Elementary and Secondary Education Act of 1965. And Tennessee's existing policies and statutes are in line with the new law. The law went into full effect on August of 2016. It will be fully implemented into the school year by the 2017-2018 school year, which is the school year coming up. That's why I felt like this presentation is very important for you guys to know. The ESSA plan, like all decisions made at the department, must keep the students at the center, so which is where we are at with our district. We are keeping our Tennessee students at the center and as a priority. So every student succeeds at the Tennessee Status Report. So Tennessee has made education a top priority and continues to be the fastest improving state in the nation with a clear vision and comprehensive strategic plan called Tennessee Succeeds. Tennessee wants to craft an ESSA plan that builds on what is working to take in best ideas from the field and how to move forward with the key policy. Key fact of making the ESA plan for Tennessee and its stakeholders involved in making the plan, Commissioner McQueen created opportunities to make sure that stakeholders were involved in making the plan overall the state of Tennessee. So that's very promising, as I'm sure some of you educators are well aware of this. Why is ESSA and NETP so important? We have two testimonies here, one from Jennifer, a parent in West Tennessee, and then Jeff Chicky, a technology coach. So I felt like these are very compelling, and you guys can take a moment and read those for yourself. The National Education Technology Plan, how did it come about? It was wanting to make technology accessible to all learners. Technology is a tool that can transform learning and is to help shrink the longstanding equality and accessibility gaps and to adapt a learning experience to meet all needs of learning. So is the policy a part of the education law in the United States? Yes, it is part of the ESSA Act of 2015. So why did they make this plan? Is it intended to be useful for any group or individual with a stake in education? So that's why we're doing this presentation. And it's the transformation of all learning experiences for all. The vision of NETP is an action plan that responds to an urgent national priority. It describes specific actions the United States should take to ensure learners of all ages have opportunities for personal growth and prosperity to remain in the competitive in the global society. So how does this affect schools? So there were recommendations made by the NETP for schools and learning and with technology. So the key point here is to make accessible learning ecosystems that make learning possible for everywhere and all time for all students. So our district would be in the implementation of our one-to-one iPad and Chromebook initiative, and also having technology integration coaches at schools with this initiative. So as you can read, the recommendations continued, but as you can see, our district is following these recommendations, and some things that we could seek out as more resources for STEM and an inventory of our technology tools so that we know exactly what our students use in these in use. And then lastly, our district needs to work with our third-party vendors to be sure that technology purposes and ensure creating technology applications that are accessible to all learners. And we also need to make sure our stakeholders are picking up learning resources that help teachers and students in their learning experience, no matter the student's ability to learn. So how does this affect our teachers? Well, our district, we need to have more in-service sessions with our teachers to increase their digital literacy. This also means we need to use content that is openly licensed for educational purposes. And there's a learningregistry.org. You can click on that if you want to find out more. And then our district needs to continue to develop our blended learning model, which we've already started. How NETP affects leadership, as you can see here. It falls under the Connect Ed initiative that Obama announced in June of 2013. It's designed to enrich K-12 education for every student in America. So we need to have collaborative research. For our district, we need to be able to develop a shared vision of how technology can support learning and how to ensure appropriate resources sustain our technology initiatives. So facilitating successful technology integration. So I like this quote by Byron and Bingham. Is leadership is the single most important factor affecting the successful integration of technology. This is true at the state level and at the school level. Schools which have made the most progress are those who are energetic and committed leaders, which we have all committed leaders here. So the biggest impact of NETP is personalized student learning. So what is it? It tells us here that we need to have an aligned instruction and assessment. This prepares students to gain skills inclinations in the areas of critical thinking, persistence, and perseverance. So teachers serve as educational designers, coaches, facilitators, guiding students through the personalized learning experiences. To have the biggest impact, implementation is key. So, good news is our district is already doing this. Our district is already working on a technology plan of having blended classrooms and one-to-one devices in our classrooms with either Chromebooks or iPads. So, part of the implementation is to utilize the state and national standards for technology education. So, what are the current national technology standards? Well, the International Society of Technology Education, or ISTE, is a nonprofit organization dedicated to supporting the use of informational technology to aid in learning and teaching of K-12 students and their teachers. So the standards are focused on 5 areas: shared vision, empowered leaders, implementation planning, consistent and adequate funding, and equitable access. So when did the Tennessee adopt the technology standards? It actually happened back in 1999 when the Board of Education approved the technology literacy and usage standards based on the NSET's National Education Standards for Students. Why? These standards give teachers and schools a framework for planning technology-based activities that are not support instruction but improve students' technology skills. And also, Tennessee now requires students in high school to take a technology class before they graduate. So an example of the computer technology literacy and usage standards, this is from first grade. The standard was students will use technology productivity tools, so they have learning expectations there. And so by continuing the implementation of our district's technology plan and keeping the ISTE and the state computer technology standards in the forefront, this will definitely be the difference for our students in their future endeavors. So next steps, now that we have implemented the new technology and utilized the technology standards, we need to measure our students' learning to help students to continue to improve their learning. So this is where the fourth part of the NETP plan comes into effect, is assessment. So technology tools for assessment. So measuring learning is necessary as part of the teacher's work. So our next steps for assessment data to support learning. What we can do is by using technology-based and formative assessments. Examples would be to use our Google Classroom and create Google Docs surveys to offer real-time report for student results. By using these types of assessment tools, we would be able to do the following things mentioned in the NETPA assessment section: is to increase accessibility, to adapt learning ability to knowledge, embedded with the learning process and access ongoing learning. So the last section of the NETP plan is infrastructure. So in order to make sure these things happen for our students and educators, there needs to be the right infrastructure, which is enabling access and effective use of technology to all students, which is what ESSA is all about. Infrastructure of NETP. The main goal: all students and educators have access to the robust and comprehensive infrastructure when and where they need it for learning. So the components of infrastructure would be ambiguous connectivity, high quality digital learning content, and responsible use policy, which we have for our district. So this is a graphic of how all this works together. So the one area I feel like we need to lack is our home internet access. So we could work with local community internet providers to give discounts to families in the district who are on free and reduced lunch status to ensure all students have internet access with a one-to-one device issued to them by the district. In conclusion, the National Technology Plan is a great resource for our district to utilize to continue to improve upon technology plan. It gives 5 areas in which to work on our technology infrastructure for our district. And the National Education Technology Plan is a way of the future to continue to improve learning at all levels, in all places, and for all people of all backgrounds. Thank you for listening.